Hi, this is MaryEllen with Portraits of Me, and today I'm coming to you with a very exciting video about two books that I recently read that I would love to share with you. I enjoyed both of these books so much, I thought I would do a video talking about them, and maybe you'll find another book or two to add to your TBR. So those two books that I want to share with you kind of have a similar storyline, and those books are Summerlost by Ali Condi and Sadie by Courtney Summers. They even start with the letter S, so that's another similarity that they have in common. But I am very excited to tell you my thoughts on them. So if either of these books sound interesting to you, you just might want to stick around and continue watching this video. The first book I want to talk to you about is the first book I read, and that book is Summerlost, again by Ali Condi. And this was such a great book. I would say that this is a book geared toward middle grade readers, so maybe anybody over 8 or 9 and above will enjoy this book. The story is cute, it's quaint, I think it will grab the attention of a reader that young and going all the way up to adulthood like me. I did listen to this book on audiobook, however, I am not the biggest audio fan because my mind tends to wander when I listen to audiobooks. And so what I have to do when I pick up an audiobook is I also have to read along with the physical book. Because if I don't, I will not listen to the story in full because my mind will start wandering and thinking about other things, and before I know it, I'm lost in the story. Lost in the story. So what I normally do when I listen to an audio is I put the audio and then I read along in the book to make sure I'm focusing on the story that's being told. And this one, I do have to say, is a really good audio. I just listened to the one that my public library has for free. I'll put the person who narrated the audio like down here because they did such a wonderful job and they should get credit for the work that they put into this audiobook. But what this story is about, it's about a family who is devastated when their family is cut in half by a tragic car accident. So this family of 5 goes down to a family of 3 because the dad and the youngest brother are killed. And so the mom and the 2 remaining kids, the older one, which is a girl named Cedar, and a younger brother named Ben, go back to the mom's hometown to try to work their way through this tragedy that happened to their family. And while they're there, this book focuses on Cedar and how she deals with this traumatic event and how she copes with those emotions. When she's in this town of Iron Creek, she meets a fellow youngster by the name of Leo who helps her through this traumatic time in her life. Of course, she doesn't open up easily, so you're walking through her different emotions with her as she connects with Leo. She meets Leo because she sees him biking back and forth on the street that she is living on and wonders where he's going every day at the same time. Well, what happened is there's a festival that he is helping with. He's 12, she's 12, just so you know the age range of the main characters. And he is helping with this festival that actually is hiring children to help hand out programs to the people who attend the festival. And that's how they meet. He gets her a job there and they become friends. Not only do they become friends, but Leo confides to Cedar that he also has an obsession with a local who became famous as an actress. And that celebrity resident is named Lizette Chamberlain. So these kids become fascinated with her story and how she passed away at not too old of an age. I think she was pretty young when she passed away. And so these kids are giving tours to some of the families or residents of this small community. And so the story is multi-layered, but it's not really like a life and death kind of situation of a story, but the story is very well written. It gives you insight on Cedar's life and how she deals with grief. It also picks up the story of her brother Ben. He's not the main character, but because he's a big part of Cedar's life, you see how he deals with it as well, and how they help each other as siblings. You don't really see too much of the mom, but you do get her story as well, and you see how she's working through her grief and trying to get through this summer and get her life back together so she could be there for her children. It's a really heartwarming story. It didn't make me cry, but it did warm my heart to see this family torn apart by such a tragic accident and how they tried to work their way through that. Now, the mom was doing that by trying to do something that she normally doesn't do, which is building a deck for the home she purchased. The kids deal with it their own way. The younger brother becomes obsessed with a soap opera, and Cedar, of course, makes friends with Leo, and they investigate the life of Lizette and trying to work through that because she died and her dad and brother died. So it's a very interesting story of how all of them are dealing with this. And I think that if you're a younger reader, you can really relate to the main character of Cedar because she's really relatable. Her character is well-rounded, and you can feel the emotions that she's going through as she's living this summer out in her mom's hometown. So I do highly recommend this book. It's a really good book. I think kids will enjoy it, and it might be a really good book to suggest to someone who is going through a loss of some kind, and I think this will help them. So it was a really, really good book, and I highly recommend it. The next book that I read was this book right here. It is Sadie by Courtney Summers, and this one I also listened to on audio because I heard such great things about the audio to this book. There was a full cast of characters. Every character seemed to be voiced by a different actor or actress, and so it really brought you into the story. So I do highly recommend listening to audio. However, it was easier for me to get a hold of the characters by also reading along to the book. For one thing, my mind didn't wander. For the other thing, I could put a name to the voice. So this book is written in interview style as well as in Sadie's perspective. So the interview style was a lot easier to follow by hearing the different voices, but also by seeing their names as you're reading through the interview. So this is a really good book to listen to audio if you have that option. Again, I listened to it free through my local library, and I'll put the name of the audio down here because I don't know who all the cast of characters were. I'm sure there's a lot of them because there's a lot of characters in this book. So what is this book about? This book deals with death as well. Sadie's life is turned upside down when her younger sister is found murdered. And her mom had walked out of them. Does that make sense? Their mom had walked out on them. Their mom left them. Their mom was not in the picture. So Sadie was the one that basically was raising her younger sister Maddie. This is showing how Sadie is dealing with the aftermath of this murder. But it also gives you the interview perspective, so you're learning about her past as well. So what happens is after Maddie is murdered, Sadie wants revenge on the murderer, and she believes she knows who did it. So she sets out for revenge and disappears. Now, her mom is pretty much out of the picture, but there is like a caretaker that kind of looks after her and her sister when her sister was alive. And she reports Sadie missing. Now, the police have done all that they can do. They said they can't do any more than what they have done. So Maybeth, I think her name is, gets a hold of a reporter, a journalist, and asks him to investigate the disappearance. So this journalist starts this investigation and learns about Sadie's past, learns about Maddie and her past, and is tracking Sadie's footsteps all the way to who Sadie believes the killer is. This is such a gripping story because you're hearing different perspectives from a lot of different people. So it's a really well fleshed out cast of characters. and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the complexity of the story. Now, it wasn't so complex, but it was complex enough that it made you think about the characters, and the way they answered West's questions made these characters come to life, and it made Sadie come to life even more and her family situation. It was a really good book. I really enjoyed it. I think this is a good book for any teenager and above to delve into, since there is murder involved and it does talk about child abuse. I wouldn't consider anybody younger than 15 to read this book. So this would be more of your higher teens into adulthood because of those subjects of murder and child abuse. Now, the ending to this book, I'm not going to spoil anything, but the ending of this book left me wanting more. But of course it ended and I didn't get the more that I wanted, so I had to use my imagination to kind of conclude everything that I learned from all those interviews, from all of Sadie's entries, and all the clues that West uncovered during his investigation. So this was a good book. Like I said, I would highly recommend it, and if you haven't put this on your TBR, you need to put this on your TBR. So these are the two books I really liked and really enjoyed. They both dealt with death, but they dealt with it in two different ways. In Summerlost, you have a regular all-American type family going through a devastated murder by a drunk driver. And in Sadie, you have a dysfunctional family trying to cope with the murder of the youngest sibling, which is Maddie. So totally two different stories, but dealing with death and grief and how these families cope with it and try to work their way through that awful situation. I'm sorry if it's kind of jumbled. I'm trying to do these reviews of books and it's kind of new to me, so I'm not sure yet how I want to format my thoughts. I'm just trying to talk as I'm filming, sharing what I liked about the book and what I didn't even share what I didn't like. I don't think I didn't like anything about these books. They were really good books. I gave them both 5 stars on Goodreads, and I think for what they both were, the authors did a wonderful job in portraying the characters, the situations, and the way they dealt with the situations handed to them. And those are my thoughts on both of these books. I hope you found a few books that you can add to your TBR. And if you have read these books, I would love to hear your feedback on them as well. Did you love them just as much as I did? Or do you have any issues with the books that you would like to mention in the comment box below? Please do so. And as always, if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate that. And if you're not a part of this channel, please consider subscribing. I try to do different kind of book videos at least once a week. And as always, you guys, may you have a great morning, day, evening, or night, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!